A very good morning to you. You're just in time for Biz Check here on KBC Channel 1. Well, this is the 5th day of December 2019, a day when the Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, as well as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, will be leading the nation in honoring fallen officers, just to honor them and to meet their widows today. That also will be happening, as well as a KMPDU just giving commentary on the establishment of Health Services Commission recommended by the Building Bridges Initiative. Of course, a lot of reactions on that particular report that was released a little bit earlier. But of course, we shall be having a conversation as well on the small and medium enterprises in Kenya. How have they been performing this year? How has the economy affected them? And just what can be done to boost this particular enterprises that contribute quite the chunk in Kenya's GDP. All that is coming up, but here in studio with me is David Kingo, an investments analyst at Saiton Investments, to just delve into this conversation on this small and medium enterprises. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
We are having a conversation here on the small and medium enterprises in Kenya. They employ about over 80% of the working population in Kenya, and they represent 98% of businesses in Kenya. That is quite a big chunk in supporting the economy. But is enough being done to boost these businesses to ensure that they thrive in the current environment? To discuss this is David Kingo, an investments analyst at Saiton Investments. Welcome on set, David.
Yes, thank you a lot for the invite.
Yes. Where are we at in terms of SMEs? Where are we at?
So in terms of SMEs, we've seen a lot of dynamics in terms of the way business is done. And definitely this subscribe to the existing acting by the national government or by the constitution that are not changing based on the dynamic that are affecting SMEs. So we've seen a lot of changes, the dynamics in terms of technology and other ways of doing business that seem to go overboard the existing laws and regulations. So we need a lot of changes in terms of the way business is done and what business is being done and how it is being done. Yes, and that is what is needed for strategic growth of SMEs, looking at the contribution that they make with around 10 million people employed by SMEs, right, and the different industry that they take care of. So definitely we need to see a lot of that, yes.
Of course, the government estimates that there are about 1.56 million licensed SMEs and a further 5.85 million unlicensed SMEs. These particular SMEs, of course, have quite a number of challenges, but as you've mentioned, how is business done in these SMEs? Do they have the capacity to handle these businesses and take them to full growth? So
I'll just give you a real example of a certain class of SMEs. Look at the transport industry. When you look at this transport, people want to do transport, but the structure of transport industry is not organized from the government perspective. So we're looking at that. So what happens is that if the government had structures that to ease transport business in the country, then SMEs in the transport industry would have a better ground to do business. So that's one. Number two, when you look at the common SMEs that we meet on a daily basis, look about salons, look about bloggers, look about people trading online. The business is there, but the structure, the guidance by the constitution does not exist. So we've such gaps, which now poses a challenge to the SME of the person doing this business.
And where can they get the information that they need? Now that maybe the structure is not right by the government, where can they get the information to make sure that their business thrives?
So we've seen the amendment bill of 2019 that tackles on basically on ease of doing business and it is greatly zeroing on SME. So that act will be there and people will see it and people will read it and see what can happen about it. So there will be ease of doing business that now enhances, and then the government also looking at different areas that they have not been able to address that and SMEs are engaging in. So they're government trying to look at that and trying to see how we can solve, how we can create a regulated environment for doing business.
Okay, and these businesses, there's a report by there's a report last year done that showed that about 33%, the SMEs competitiveness survey, it was released this year. Most of the data was collected last year and in 2017. It showed that 33% of SMEs failed to secure capital. And most of the reasons they gave was the high interest rates, collateral requirements, and complex application procedures. Just speak into the access of credit by these SMEs.
Of course, what happens with the, and this is a debate that has happened, and people have discussed it a lot. What happened with the interest rate capping? The banking sector did not find it viable to lend to the SMEs because of one reason. Number one, the cost of capital that the bank was seeing on their end, the risk that the banking sector was seeing on their end, meaning that it was around 4%. So if you lend to someone at 4%, this person is an SME, does not have security, does not have history of doing business. So what are you doing as a bank? Definitely you're exposing yourself to default. So banking sector shied away from SMEs and started moving cash to non-funded income. We'll talk about treasury bills and if, for that case, investing in government. So the SMEs suffered a great negative impact in terms of getting capital, and that's why there was a slowed and struggling growth by SMEs over that particular time when interest rate was capped. And then definitely it translates into the issues you're mentioning about access to capital. Yes.
The finance bill that was assented to by the president, of course, it now means the rate caps have been repealed. What does this mean for the SMEs? Because at the time when this bill was enacted, they capped the interest rates. Their main reason, one of the main reasons, was to ensure that SMEs can access credit. The banks went ahead to just say that they are high risk and they could not give them loans. Now that it has been repealed, do you foresee an increased interest rates for these SMEs, and will they even be able to access this credit all the same?
So definitely what we expect is a holistic view of the market by commercial banks. What do we mean by an holistic view of the market by commercial banks? Where are they taking their money? That's the concept that we'll see.
Right.
So with the interest rate repealing, so what will happen is that it is more favorable for commercial bank to lend to SMEs. So definitely what happens is that they shy away from government because the government is not giving enough returns as compared to SMEs, because now they can flex the interest rate. So what will happen is that we'll see more injection of capital to the SMEs and commercial banks looking at SMEs. We'll see even growth of microfinances still to capture that market. So we will see changes, definitely. Of course, the banks will have a different view towards lending to SMEs, and it will happen because that's now the favorable market as compared to government, or to any other unfunded income.
Right,
Yes.
and of course at this time of scarcity, the SMEs, most of them started looking to digital loans.
Yes.
So do you think that the banks will be able to recover this particular segment of the market that they lost to the digital loans?
Of course, we've seen each and every commercial banks trying to come up to the challenge and starting their own online lending platforms. So because there is confidence and there is trust in commercial banks or regulated banks in this country as compared to unregulated fintech lending companies. So what will happen is that we will see consumers move to commercial banks and through a lending structure that's organized. So we will see, because the commercial banks are also trying to come to the challenge and try to online lending platform. And even if you look at the recently released financial for commercial banks, a biggest chunk of their disbursement in terms of loans and transactions were online, were not on the banking platform. So we see commercial banks also taking up that challenge. Yes.
Yeah, taking up a challenge, of course. And one of the reasons that they were being driven, of course, to these digital apps is even the ease of the application process. It's pretty simple and seamless. Do you foresee that these banks will now reduce their requirements?
So what has happened from the banking sector end is that the process of applying, or the process of making a loan application, was traditional and was paper initially.
Right.
But we've seen a transition of loan applications whereby the scoring, the amount that a certain customer is able to qualify is determined by a system.
Right.
So the process of application to disbursement is being shortened by use of technology to that effect. So we'll see disbursement time being effective from the commercial bank, because even the loan application process has been automated. So definitely we will see that, and that one definitely competes with the fintech companies. Yes.
Right, and of course, apart from access to credit, there is the issue of the skill gap in growing these SMEs. Of course, Kenya has a very educated youth, a very educated people. That is one of the assets, yeah. but you find these SMEs are still lacking in skills. What is the problem?
I think the concept is not literally about the skill. It's about the environment to do business and the environment to see an opportunity. Because the way the business setup is defined is like taking up a new challenge as an SME and develop a unique product, or come into the service industry with a unique nature of business is posed as a challenge. So it's about the government sensitizing SMEs and mostly youth who perhaps living in universities who still in employment, that there is avenues that we can follow, and the government has ABC structures to support that. Because you would want to start a business, but the regulations that are there, the tax structures that are there are not encouraging to an individual. But if the government still continues to ease the way of doing business, then we'll see more people coming into those avenues, even without the skill, but learning on business.
Learning on business.
Yes.
Yeah, and do you think that these entrepreneurs have the capacity?
Yes, definitely they have the capacity. The challenge is just the environment. And because now the capacity can be defined in different ways. Number one is the willingness to do the business. Number two is the ability to see the opportunity. The number three will be capital. People can come together if it's a youth group, get money from the government. People can come together if it suits, put their motorbike on the table, put their phones on the table. If only the banking sector now sees the current securities that are being held by the youth. You can sell my motorbike to recover a loan that I borrowed, then I would not feel pinch. But when you sell my phone, that is maybe worth 10,000, I would feel the pinch.
Okay.
So that is the concept that the banking sector needs to see. So if you say you will hack my social platforms account because I've not paid you 10K, or you tell me I will post you on Facebook because you've not paid my debt, definitely I will pay. So the banking sector also must come of age and see what are now the new securities that we can use to give these people loans. Because the current youth people that we have don't have the same security as it was initially. So this aspect of capital as the fourth way of ability to do business must be looked at different. And when we combine the four items that I mentioned, then we'll see more people going to SMEs and create employment and trigger the economic growth that we've seen from SMEs.
Right, which is of course very important for the economy. And for any business to grow, whether small, medium, and also even these big enterprises, market is very important. Where do they sell their products or their services, yeah? So the market for these SME products, is it there? Let's start local. Is it there?
Yes, I just literally give you a true example. So if today you want to go and do farming, you will not do farming because you've seen a business, or you've seen somewhere where you're going to sell your product. You will do business because you want to make money. So the concept of the market has not been brought to the SME farmer that before you go into business, let us first identify your market. But we are going into business to sell, but we don't know where we are going to sell. So we have not seen good incentives by the government trying to create an environment for the buyers, not for the sellers. The seller is there, the farmer is there, but the buyer, looking at on the other side of the buyer, who will buy our product, that is a very important avenue. We've seen government trying to encourage use of drip irrigation technology in farming, but we have not seen the government trying to go into the other side of who now processes the end product, because that is where we have the gap. So the market, we need more injection of knowledge and research work, and people coming together and discussing either county government or national government and even the private sector on where are we selling, because that is where now the problem is. Yes.
And of course, even in understanding the market, there is the issue of the product development. For instance, you've mentioned the agricultural sector. There is produce. Most of it we sell it, or rather the farmers sell it as raw produce. Where does value addition come in, especially in even supporting these SMEs and even people starting value addition enterprises within the agriculture sector?
So value addition has been a challenge for SMEs, and because I will tell you, even long time we used to have a specific product. If it is maize flour, we used to know maybe one product. But currently they're there with many maize flour processing farms that are in our local areas. So the end product and a value chain addition is another aspect that the government should be able to see.
Right.
But what we see the government coming up with entities that try to push value addition in terms people, bringing people together to form cooperatives. These cooperatives are being engaged in things like milk processing into end products like yogurt and butter. We've seen people coming together and form a maize flour processing company because people would have maize and produce it and sell at the lower price. But when they store and sell to their own cooperative where they do processing, then that one becomes business. So we've seen the such incentives and trying to tell people that we can also produce the end product. We must not export and get the end product from abroad, but we can get the end product from ourselves.
Right.
Yes.
And these SMEs, even as they produce locally, and they seek markets both locally and internationally, leave alone even international, regionally. There are other products from the regional, our regional neighbors, which compete with our own products here locally. So how is that environment panning out for them?
Yes, we cannot eliminate that concept. And I would say that for your product to be competitive on the other market, definitely you've to develop a product that that is unique and a product that is able to beat competition, because we are part of an economic union, be it the East African Economic Union, be the ECOWAS, be the COMESA, just to mention, be the AU. So we cannot prevent other countries from bringing our product to this nation as long as we subscribe to that specific economic zone. The only thing that we have, the only option that we have is to reduce the cost of production in this country, create subsidies for our farmers, create subsidies for the service industry that we make our product price competitive in other countries. That's the only way we beat the concept of economic union. But we cannot beat it by creating embargoes and tariffs to prevent other countries from coming in.
Right.
Yes.
So the farmer can only depend on these policy changes?
Yes, the policy changes and subsidies to make the cost of production cheaper in this country. We make it competitive, definitely. Yes.
And of course, even through the value addition chain, there is the issue of manufacturing, both in the agriculture sector and other manufacturing subsectors. The cost of electricity or energy has been very high. The Association of Manufacturers has been complaining all through that manufacturers are suffering because of the high cost of energy, leading to the high cost of products at the end of the day. Do we have a way that we can bring these costs down?
So energy production, the cost of energy, just to mention, and being part of the production cost has been quite a challenge, because we don't know the magnitude of energy that is needed that cannot be used through power or solar system. But we've seen government try to put regulations in terms of it. If housing, you need to have a water heating system that is powered by solar. Why can't we see the government saying that for certain industry that have a certain level of power usage, if you lie in this particular category of power subscribers to Kenya Power, then try an option of solar energy. We've not seen the government trying to come into that, because there are heavy consumers in the manufacturing industry who use electricity as the only source of energy. But by way of where these industries are located, they would go into solar and make production cheaper. So we need that conversation between private sector and the government institutions. We need to see subsidies or avenues, or maybe the tax incentives that encourage heavy manufacturing companies to go into solar power energy, because that is an alternative solution that has been proved to work by where we are located in the globe.
Okay. And the SMEs we are talking about, manufacturing is a very capital-intensive venture. Do you think that there is room for SMEs to even venture into manufacturing itself? Because there would be the linkage between the raw materials, the value addition, and finally value-added products.
Yes, there would be capital based on one thing. I will tell you one thing, that if you want to invest in manufacturing industry, you need to have a basis. You need to have a business proposal. What does that one mean? That you've gone into the market and seen, if I want to produce 10,000 metric tons of product A, where do I sell it? You cannot go into blindly and say you want to produce 10,000 metric tons of product A, but without a market. So once you have all that concept brought together, then you visit a commercial bank, because this is an heavy investment. They look at your business proposal. If it is viable in terms of where you want to sell. Number one, security is your own infrastructure or investment. You have your own standing industry. You have your own standing machinery. You have your own standing warehouse. So that is the first basis of security. Then your business proposal is the largest security. So where are you selling? If the market is there, then people would support you as commercial banks. Then there will be investment companies that would do private equity funding, basically like Satan. So you come with a business proposal. I want to do this. I've done it before. I want to grow it to this extent. I have an history of 6 years maybe in that particular business. So then you would like a private equity engagement with investment companies like Satan. So definitely people would come to a table and discuss that, if it is viable to that extent.
Right. Yes. And do you think that the crop of entrepreneurs we have in this country are thinking that big?
So we've challenged in terms of, because a commercial bank has turned you down. You don't go to the next commercial bank and see whether they can lend you. With the concept of inability to still fight until you get it done. But it's a concept that needs a lot of sensitization and education. And by the way, how people have come to understand commercial banks, people will still come to understand there are other avenues that we can get capital. It's about time we keep sensitizing citizens that there are other ways that we can get capital apart from commercial bank. Just like the way we used to know it was Shylock, then we went to commercial banks, we would go to other avenues like investment banking. So it's about time then people will understand that we have other avenues that we can get capital and do business.
And do business, right. And accessing the international markets, that's a whole other frontier on its own. The challenge that most SMEs face when they are trying to access these markets is even the quality of their products. How competitive are our SMEs compared to in the international market?
So there are different ways that you define competition in the international market. One is pricing. Number two is quality. What are you bringing here? Number three is about how this particular product services the need or satisfy the need that is supposed to be satisfied. So when you come about the international market, there's structure that support that. Number one is the Chamber of Commerce. What is the story that the Chamber of Commerce has done as a national entity to sell our product out there? When we have athletes going outside, do they go with brands like this product we sell from our country? We have this product and can do this from our country. Do we get banners from there? It's about the Chamber of Commerce trying to sensitize the international market that we have different products that can satisfy you. We have different products that are price competitive. We have different products that are quality. So I'm trying to take advantage of any setup that we have in the international community. Do either goes for meetings that are related to economic decisions? Do we have athletes going to do their career or their talent out there? Do we have any engagement that is between private and the national government, that we have between our embassies, local embassies, foreign embassies in this country? They would have symposium, we would encourage them about these are the products. They can sensitize their nation that we have these products which are competitive in different ways. Then we are able to sell. And who is the front runner of that? Who carries the flag in there? It is the National Chamber of Commerce. So we need to see a lot of aggressiveness in terms of marketing, and then we'll be able to place our product on the table of international market.
Right. Yes. I like that you've mentioned the issue of diplomats from Kenya. Are they doing enough?
So of late is when now we are trying to understand. Even we have diplomats in this country from other nations. So we've seen the ambassadors even from the US trying to interact with the local people and try to understand what they produce. We've seen the Chinese government trying to send their diplomats deep down into what we produce and what we have and where can they come in. Do you have partnerships? Or in the recent age, diplomats have tried to take advantage, have tried to to find their opportunity that they can work with the local government or with Kenya as a government. So, and we're looking forward to that because we've seen county governors having discussions with diplomats on different industries that they can start in their own counties, land that they can give. And we've seen the president also inviting nations that will have this number of acreage for international investment. You come as a country, as a neighbor, come put industry here, produce from here and sell out there. So we've seen all that interaction definitely means that diplomat class now is engaged in terms of looking to where they can open business. Yes.
Right. And the infrastructure in this country, it is of course a key element in supporting these SMEs, you know.
Yes.
So just speak into the infrastructure situation right now and if you think that the SMEs are benefiting the most from it.
So when we talk about the cost of production, even not cutting across any SME, the cost of production is composed of, among the aspects that compose cost of production is the infrastructure. And where does infrastructure come? It comes into transport. So number one, if you're transporting your fuel tanker moving from Mombasa to Kisumu, you know, the road network is not bad. So it's going to be expensive. It's going to take time. Time is fuel. So it reaches Kisumu and it's expensive. And someone wants to buy fuel in that particular petrol station, of course it will be expensive. And all that is put in terms of defending the price of fuel. So the cost of production comes high. If you want to move your product from your farm, we are definitely, because farming will not be done in Nairobi, they will be done in outskirts. So
right.
Moving your product from the shamba to the market is quite expensive. You have to use capital-intensive means of transport. You use border, they fall down, they are wasted. So by the time you reach into market, 5% of your product have been lost because of the infrastructure concept. So it's something that the government needs to see about as we open the cities. How are we opening where we get our main source of SME income? If our SMEs are in agriculture, how many roads are leading to those agricultural farms, and they are good. Yes.
And now the innovation bit of it, of course, the world keeps changing. Every day, new things are coming. Are our SMEs innovating enough or fast enough?
Yes, definitely they are. We've such avenue where SME are trying to adopt technology, and one is fintech, where people are able to borrow the phone. In fact, they are running ahead of the government. So the government is now trying to see which laws can we put in place for these companies. Look at the bloggers. It's something that we cannot ignore. They are there. They are trying to find their own space. Who regulates them? Those are SMEs. They created employment. 10, 15 or 20 people are employed by these bloggers to put stories out there, and we're reading them. So looking at that, look at our music industry. SME, those are SME. They have created employment. They are churning their music mostly through online platforms, call it YouTube, call it Twitter, call it whatever. So they are sending which rules are there by the government to protect people who are making their business online. So innovation is there, but the rules and regulations are behind. Yes.
The rules and regulations are behind. Of course, there's the issue of taxing the digital economy. That now the government is trying to come up with those regulations, and how to do it. How affected will businesses be?
Of course, there will be, because if you've been doing business and making your money, and the government has not been coming in to support you in whichever way, then now they want to make money out of you. Definitely, there will be a negative impact on these SMEs, but it's the way of doing business in a nation. So of course, if you ride on their own, as a citizen, we have to make a contribution to our national cake by the way we do business. So definitely there will be about some impact, but I'm sure they will appreciate, because the government also coming up with strategy that supports that. And so just to mention that they're trying to adopt electronic signatures, where, initially to get a signature somewhere, so you have to look for this government officer to sign for you. So we're seeing it to government looking at the avenues where they can take advantage of technology. Yes, so definitely it will be an impact, but we'll understand over time, the government and the SMEs. Yes.
Yeah, we'll understand that over time, of course. But even as these businesses continue coming up, we're always innovating. There's the issue of intellectual property and copyright. You find that one business begins today, the next day there are 50 of that kind. Even the arts and entertainment industry that you've mentioned, there's of course quite an issue on matters IP, quite a number of songs being pulled down because of, intellectual property infringement. What do you think should be done, or what ethics can these SMEs follow to ensure that they don't infringe on other people's rights even as they innovate?
So I think the government has been in the forefront of finding this, because initially it was very rampant. You remember about music, you produce your song, someone produces their song, and then immediately it is in the streets at even 50 bob or 20 bob, yes. But of late, we've seen these people reduce. I'm not sure that I've recently seen people on the roadside selling such items, so it has really come down. Then about copyright and protection of innovations, that the government still needs to engage a lot with those who are producing such items to the internet or even to paper. Then we need to see a lot in terms of, I'm sure we have not reached there as a government in terms of protecting such issues, but there is need for a lot to be done, because copyright infringement of those rights is quite high. Yes. It
is quite high, yes. And of course it's something that the government needs to deal with even better. And the issue of skill set for these SMEs. Most of these SMEs, someone starts as a hobby and just moves on to make it a business. How can they make sure that they have the skills that they did not have originally? Maybe you just started as a musician, but you don't know accounting, and you need to make sure that your books are right. How can they get these skills?
Yes, as you join a specific industry or you join a specific market as an SME or even if it's a corporate, so people change the business they do. Even companies change the business they do. And there are big companies in this world that you can never imagine started as a grocery, then they ended up being a fintech company completely. So, but it depends, as you grow as an SME, try bringing on and try to network to see what other people do and where can you get a training or seminars to educate you on doing some certain nature of business. Or if you are an SME, then you become the entrepreneur. Then you get someone on board who will assist you on the technical part of the same. Because we've seen people start business as SMEs, but they don't know that they should file their VAT on 20th. So they miss for consecutive like 5 years. So the government owes them around 50,000. So it is not their fault, but about understanding. So it's what you are trying to say is, as an SME, you becoming an entrepreneur, try to pull someone along who now tries to put the links of the professional part of it or the technical part of it, yes. And we've seen SME also growing to those areas. We've seen accountants now forming their own companies to assist in that. Right. So there are different SMEs that cut across or to satisfy the need of those SMEs that are doing different businesses. So try to network as an SME, try to know what other people do, try to understand their business and which help can you get from them. So, and then it will be able to grow. Right. It will be good. Yes.
Okay. And these SMEs, of course, there could be someone who's watching, wanting to get into the SME or to start an SME, and they're wondering, is it all gloom like this, you know? If you could speak to them, what do they need to know in this environment we are in, the economic environment we are in? What do they need to know before they venture into that SME?
I think the first thing is to understand the market. So take time to understand where you want, the nature of business that you want to do. See if there are other people who do a related business. Right. So if you want to construct, if you want to join the real estate business, so see what those people in real estate business, what do they do? What are their challenges? So what are their markets? And how do they get capital? Try to understand, before you go into that business, try to understand what happens in that particular business, and now set your foot. And when you have all those details at hand, all those details with you at your fingertips, then starting the business will not be a challenge. You will face challenges, of course, but there will be ways to get it. If you realize these people used to sell tiles, for example, then they faced this particular challenge in the month of June, because, or in this particular period like December, because it was raining, people were not constructing. So you don't import your items when it's about to rain, so you skip that. So it helps you understand the terrains of your business. So do a lot of research work before you venture into this business. Number two, try to get someone on board. When you're doing it together, you tend to leverage risk, you tend to encourage one another, you tend to find knowledge. If you come with your own input, I come with my own input, then we will go bigger than when you are alone.
We're having quite an interesting conversation on small, medium enterprises. Where are we and how are they performing in these economic times? And what can you do if you want to venture into, to start an SME enterprise? Or even if you are in one and struggling. Of course, that is what we are discussing with David Kingo, an investments analyst at Saiton Investments. Thank you for staying with us, David. And before we went on break, we were just discussing that what one needs to know, understanding the market, you know, getting someone on board. Could you just continue speaking about that?
Yes, so what we're trying to say is that as you venture into a certain business, it's always crucial to bring someone on board, and someone who has the same nature of interest, someone who has the same passion, someone has the same vision. So you're trying to put those people together, then their ease of doing business will be good, and in terms of facing challenges will be good. And then when you face the challenges alone and you get discouraged at some point and you skip out of the venture before it just could have been a good deal. So people are being encouraged to come together, and it is the concept of business that two people together makes it easier for business and to face the challenges ahead. Yes.
Making it easier, of course. Yes. And even as they venture into these businesses, there are some things, legal requirements that are expected of them. What are these? Could you just take us through them a little bit?
So just to mention that the legal aspect of it would be you be in a company structure, if that need be. So being in a company structure would mean you've defined the way you own your business. Then number two is that don't operate in an informal setup in terms of financials. Open a bank account, transact in a way that you understand each other. Have rules to operate the account, because we've seen two people going together into a business, then one steals money from the other, just basically because you're not a signatory or you don't understand the rules and regulations of operating a bank account. So operate in a formal setup in terms of the business, registered, the terms of you pay taxes, in terms of you understand the banking setup of your business. So then you have a small accounting concept whereby you're able to account on what you are doing and how you're using your money. I just tell you, for example, if you're doing a business, then you want to go and visit someone that you want to engage on different market that can get you into, then you buy them coffee for 200 bob. That receipt should be taken back to your business and be part of the accounting. Okay. So people try to use their business money to move business operations, but they don't understand that it should be part of the accounting concept. If you make a profit of 1,000 based on your own informal analysis of your account, but you used 5,000 to look for a certain business, but you've not put in the accounting concept, then definitely you've made a loss of 4,000. So those are the main concepts that people going together into business should look at, making it a formal agreement, a formal structure from the word go. It helps you have a vision. It helps you understand that you're not running any other nature of business, but you're running a formal business. Just
Right, and even as they try to, get their papers together, ensure that their books are right, they are putting every spend on the book. There is the issue of people are struggling. They are struggling SMEs.
Yes.
And sometimes an SME has to make those tough decisions. And some people say that you cannot run a business based on your heart. You have to use your mind.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would you say to maybe a person who's running a business, it's struggling and they have to make tough decisions, but they are having a problem just because of their emotional attachment?
So number one is to understand where before you start your business, as I said before, have analysis of the market and where you want to go. So if you have those analysis, then you have your own objectives. For me, I want to do this. I want to sell this amount of stock by the year end. I want to have made a total turnover of around, let's say around 15 million by the end of the year. So by the time you hit the 9th month of the year, you should be approaching to your own target. So by the time you reach 9 months and you're not going to that particular target, what do? Sit back, reevaluate your structure, reevaluate your objectives. Where could you be going wrong? Could you be struggling in your business? Could you have set your targets higher than what you would expect? Right. So those are the basic concepts. But the emotional attachment between the owner and the business should be separated to an extent, because you will not run a business into a loss and closure just because if you have an emotional attachment, just to mention that you can run another business, but you've emotional business with the transport industry, and your matatus are going down. So you still don't wait to go down, and yet you can follow other avenues. Yeah. So those are the concepts that someone needs to understand. If it is not able to meet your objective, turn it. Your objective is to satisfy a certain need in the market and doing a certain business. So if it is not able to achieve that objective, definitely you take a turn at the right time before you go into a mess. Yes.
Before you go into a mess.
Yes.
Of course, that might include letting some people go, scaling down, some of those changes that have to be made occasionally by businesses.
Yes.
And these SMEs, they grow.
Yes.
They get somewhere that they... Is there a point where you let the business run itself?
Yes. You can let the business run itself, and I say that if you have the structure, because as I just mentioned that you define your objective and you define your strategies, then how do you let the business run itself? You let the business run itself if it is a process that the business has mastered. So you can have your business, give someone to run it, then step aside and do something else. So if maybe, for example, it is importation business, and you know, this is the person I import from, maybe in Europe or whichever country, and I send my order 3 months, 3 months prior. So by January I'm sending an order, by March I'm sending an order, by the other quarter I'm sending an order. So it is to connect your business to that particular system that you make an order on this particular time. Then this is my client base. So when you get this particular quantity, you must have placed an order to, or sell to this particular customer by this particular time.
Right.
So the business structure is able to run itself. So those are the way that you can step aside and let your business run. But of course you need to have your own patronage concept where you come in and see how is the products of the business there, because as the vision carrier, there are things that those you let run your business may not understand, or may not have vision that. They will stick to their objective rules and responsibility that you gave them. But you as a vision carrier, you will have a more diverse view, or 360 degrees view of your business. So you come in and try to see which strategy you can change here and there to increase your business. Just
And these systems that you put in place to ensure that they can manage your business even when you're away or when you pass it on to someone else.
Yes.
What place does technology have in ensuring that these systems are seamless?
Definitely, it's about adoption of technology on just different platforms that run your business. So of course, if you the ultimate approver of decisions that you can approve through technology, definitely it will happen. If a transaction that you say that we import stock worth 2 billion at certain particular time, so if the money is to be wired, definitely you are the ultimate approver. So that's why I said, as a vision carrier, you don't completely distance yourself from the business. And that's why even on the corporate setup, you'll realize that most of the chairman of the organizations have had an history with the business. So, or most of those, a section of the people in the board have had a section of running the business at a certain point in time. So you don't distance yourself as a vision carrier. So you still remain there and then have strategic leadership, which may involve technology for you to connect with the business. Yes. So you don't let it go. You still maintain that particular link. Yes.
Right. And for this, especially the small, leave alone the medium enterprises, the small enterprises, do they have access to this technology?
For small SMEs, definitely we have a challenge, or they have a challenge, because I'll just give you an example. We have a saloonist in the farthest village of this country, that's a small SME, because he or she has around 3 people or 4 people who are being employed there, and they're earning income out of there. But in terms of technology to send photos online, basically photos online, that I have my salon and these are the hairstyles I do. I have a kinyozi and these are the hairstyle I do. Having those avenues is not there, because even their customers still don't have internet or don't have phones that have that particular technology. So the challenge is still there in terms of adoption of technology into SMEs, because it is costly to buy a phone that can access internet. Then even the setup of sending photos, and someone understand that I can share my photo online and get a customer, is still a concept that people need to be trained about. Yes. So we have those spaces on small SMEs, and that's why they are small, and then they go to a bit larger SMEs, then they understand that concept. Yes.
Right, and that is how they even end up having the information management systems, you know, that enable them, ensure that this process is seamless. This is the procurement process. If a step is missed, the procurement is not successful, you know, at the end of the day. So these, what understanding can these businesses have that even as much as accessing these technologies is expensive, it is an investment in the long run? So
what I said initially was about when I mentioned that if you're doing a certain nature of business, then you want your financial area to be addressed. We have similar SMEs who are in this particular field of accounting. So when it comes to technology, and we call them ERP systems. So ERP systems are software or systems that enable one to run their business in one system setup. Okay. So we have SMEs who now are currently in software development. So they are coming up with softwares that address your issue of HR, address your issue of accounting, address your issue of procurement. All strategic departments that can be there in your SMEs are put together in a system, and then they can be run seamlessly. So with systems like Synix, these are human resource systems that are online, they're being spread all over. So those systems, once you get them and through an SME setup, and because they have been developed by an SME and they're being sold to an SME, then it means the price setup is friendly. Then the way softwares are paid, they may not be paid upfront. There are different payment structures, just to mention, for payment of softwares or for payment of system. We can give, someone can buy a right for a specific user, which is not paid upfront. It can be paid annually, it can be paid quarterly, it can be paid monthly. Right. So the SMEs are able to agree on payment platforms or payment methodologies that can be used to access a certain software. So the softwares are there. It's about one SME trying to understand what challenges do I face as an SME and which other SME is offering that particular solution. Then you can go and buy their system. So they're there. They're there, and the market and SMEs are selling it. Yes.
Right, they're available. Yes. But of course, there are some SMEs that are ignoring the magnitude of this particular technology. Just speak into the difference it makes even in their earnings, you know, it's streamlining these processes. What difference does it make in your final earnings or your profits?
One of the key, what we call CSF in SMEs, the critical success factors, is running a robust, effective, and efficient business that is geared toward cost cutting, that is geared towards increase in revenue, that is geared towards making an operating an environment that is not confusing to that extent. Right. So what happens with these systems? Number one, they save you cost in terms of even employment. So the people you put together in different departments to run your organization, they're reducing to maybe 1 or 2 persons for segregation of duties purposes. So it enables to put your business in one view. Number two, you're able to see what the business is performing. When you run a business, a bigger SME, without a system, you cannot run a report and know so-and-so was working on this particular day and this is what they did. So, but the system enables you to get reports. What do these reports help you for? These reports help you make decisions in terms of where is your business going. Number three, these reports are able to give you analytics of how secure is your business in the next foreseeable future. Number four, these systems will be able to have a capacity to get data on the market, on the different competitions you are facing, and which way can you change your business to reap from that particular competition or those particular avenues. So systems are very important, and to SMEs, if you don't have a system, definitely you are incurring more cost that you would incur if you had a system, because to put everything together in one box. Yes.
And joining us now is Onesimus Masinde Mwangale. He is a manager at the Trade and Policy Manager at the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Welcome on set, Masinde.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and of course with him we've been discussing with David Kingo, the investments analyst at Saiton Investments. Thank you for staying with us. Masinde.
Thank you.
Accessing markets for the SMEs,
yes,
both local, regional, and international. Could you just tell us where we are at, because you have the numbers?
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to give you a brief about our role as a chamber.
Right.
One of our functions is to support enterprise growth. And when you talk about enterprise growth, one of the key areas is support market access, market development. So within our membership, we have the SMEs that we support along various value chains. And one of the key areas we do is to align what we call market. When you talk about market, you look at the local opportunities. What are the areas where we can support in terms of market linkages, market development, market access? So within our work, we look at what is it that we must give the information, what is it that we must give to the SMEs in terms of support. So we do what we call commercial and economic market information. We identify what are the opportunities, who are the best value chain actors within what we call the markets, within supporting the SMEs. And today, as a chamber, we are within all the 47 counties. And then within the 47 counties, we support what we call intertrade, trade between counties in terms of supporting the SMEs.
Right.
We identify the areas of support if there are products that SMEs will want to sell from one county to another. We do that. So basically, as a chamber, our primary role in terms of supporting SMEs within the local economy, we look at what we call market information for the products. Who are the actors? How do you strengthen the market? How do you build relationships within other associations in terms of supporting those SMEs? And not only that, we also do what we call economic diplomacy. As a chamber, one of our primary roles is to advance what we call the foreign commercial interest abroad. So we support market-related programs like organizing what we call trade-specific missions abroad. We do them specific in terms of organizing our own trade missions, looking at the potential opportunities outside Kenya. Where do you want to go and look for what you call opportunities in terms of export? We'll support them by identifying what we call market support programs outside the country. And not only do that, we also have to identify key partners abroad.
Right.
How do we support them in terms of linking that? And we organize these specific trade missions, basically sometimes as a chamber on our own. Sometimes they also what we call trade-related state visits abroad. One of our key primary roles is to mobilize specific relevant agencies from the SMEs group to take them abroad in terms of doing that. We support them, we give them information in terms of doing this. Recently, we had an opportunity to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Sharjah Chamber of Commerce. And one of the opportunity was they gave us an office there. And the primary role of an office is to do what you call the bilateral relationship between Kenya and the Emirates in terms of doing business. So while there, you realize you'll be able to give what you call key trade information and commercial opportunities abroad.
Right.
And maybe just to conclude in terms of market, apart from aligning that, we also support the SMEs on what we call export competitiveness. When you talk about export competitiveness, before you understand the markets, what are the key requirements that you'll want to have as a trading partner in terms of the product entry, market information, product competitiveness, and then even enhancing the opportunities abroad in terms of what you call custom entry and business information. So basically, that's what you want to do. And then just to add on that, we also want to push issues related to what we call better business environment. Business will only survive when there's what you call the environment to do trade.
Right.
Yes.
Of course, that's quite an elaborate definition of your role and what you've been able to do. But could you give us some numbers in terms of the SMEs that you've been able to maybe assist to even reach those international markets? Like, what has been the impact of all these roles that you have? You have these bilateral dealings, engagements. What has been the impact this far?
One of the roles we've been able to do, we've done what we call internationalization, exposing the local businesses abroad in terms of engaging into businesses. Out of these, you've seen cross-cutting opportunities, either in terms of what you call inflow of investment and then outflow in terms of investment. So you realize that most of the SMEs that you've been able to support, they have been able to pitch trade in some of the regional markets. Like today, you talk about the East African integration. You'll find most Kenyan SMEs that you supported, you expose them to what we call the foreign markets. You'll find some of them are in our neighboring countries like Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Burundi. Within the EAC, they do a lot of business. And then apart from that, they've also been able to establish what we call joint ventures. These are joint businesses they do in terms of supporting their business support programs. And then they've also got opportunities to do what we call local representation. Local representation, then that means out of the external relationship they have had with their foreign counterparts in terms of doing business, they are representing international brands in the local markets.
Right.
They have gone into partnerships where they have been given the mandate to run some of the business programs that are doing this. And then as an institution, we've also been able to map what are the opportunities that we can support the SMEs even in terms of aligning with the international partnerships. Like today, one of our roles today as a private sector is to support and aid the government in the realization of the Big Four. We've been able to map what are the opportunities. So apart from mapping the Big Four, we've been able to align the key opportunities the SMEs can get. So today we've talked about joint ventures. You'll find some of the SMEs are working with international partners. Some have also been able to access what we call venture financing. Venture financing, that means apart from looking at the resources in terms of financing locally, there is what we call the international financing opportunities in various value chains. So most of them have been able to access in key areas like renewable energy, water and sanitation, distributorship, issues to do retail and wholesale in terms of supporting their enterprises.
All right. And David, if I could just bring you in on this. all these opportunities that we've had the KNCCI has been able to get, or there are for these SMEs, what do you think is the challenge in accessing these opportunities? I mean, there are over 7 million SMEs. So what is the challenge in accessing these opportunities?
So, we first congratulate the Chamber of Commerce for what they are doing. But I just mentioned one thing, that Chamber of Commerce is the shortest route to your destination, maybe in terms of business.
All right.
But to understand where this route is, how to go to that route, now is the biggest challenge. How do someone know that this is the route that will take me to market A? And the route is Chamber of Commerce. It is good, it is soft, it is short, and it is viable for business, but no one knows where that route is. So it is Chamber of Commerce rising above what they are doing and sensitizing people that we have these different avenues for people to do business. So if they look at that, definitely in terms of sensitization, and now they are saying they're in the county government. So what is their structure in the county government? How many people do you have in the county government who understand the Chamber of Commerce? See, just one representative sitting in the county national or in the county assembly setup, or one who has an office in the county. But the farmer who farms bananas that need to be exported to Uganda does not know even where the county offices are. So do we have this thing rolled down even to the sub-chief, even to the community-based organization set up, to people to understand it's a good route to your destination as an SME, but we don't know where this route is located, where it stays. So sensitization is important, and having a very deep structure. Because the target of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, a bigger percentage is who is doing which business in this country, and how can they benefit from their structure. So if Chamber of Commerce pushes their name, pushes their structure to the person on the grassroots, not only stopping at the county government, but look in the sub-county setup, look into the ward setup, look in the sub-location setup. Can you put farmers together who grow, for example, wheat? Can you put farmers together who, for example, grow French beans? Have a reporting structure to the Chamber of Commerce. Send your data to the Chamber of Commerce, or the Chamber of Commerce come and collect that data from this particular group of farmers, then have a strategy for them. So maybe those would really open up.
Yes, Masinde, would you want to respond to the issue of sensitization as well as getting to the grassroots, educating the grassroots?
Yes, basically, when you look at Chamber of Commerce, we are part of the international business community. We represent the Kenyan chapter.
Right.
We are a non-profit establishment. We are not government, but our role is to make sure that the private sector thrives. And how do you do that? We want to look at how do you look at better business environment. We want to look at policy alignment. Are we getting better reforms, regulation in terms of what will make businesses work? And then trade facilitation. How do you also make sure that trade thrives, promotion of trade, both at local, international level? So basically that is our role. And I've said very well that we are in 47 counties. We also work within the organized kind of the framework that we have today as a country, the national and the 47 counties.
Right.
So within our 47 counties, we have what we call structures that run the chambers in terms of leadership. We have the chapter chairperson, we have the vice, we have the secretary, and the rest. They are the people who work and make sure that there's what we call membership sensitization, the recruitment drive, looking at the opportunities, and then you also work very closely with the establishment of the county governments and the county assemblies. And then the county governments will want to look at what is it that you must put in place very well to make sure that there's a very cordial relationship in terms of business environment. And then you also look at the legislation that works at the county level. Are we getting it right in terms of the policy that will make sure that for the locals who are doing businesses within counties is what we call better business climate. So basically we interface. We don't work on our own, and we also work with also other associations in terms of supporting and pushing what we call the business agenda.
Right.
Basically, that's what we do. And one of our key roles today, as part of sensitization, we reach out to other people and tell them what are the benefits of one joining Chamber, and how can Chamber support you in day-to-day on your key business activities in terms of either moving forward, aligning what we call business continuity, and even succession, because there are a number of issues that businesses must get. Particularly when you talk about the SMEs, there are a lot of challenges they face at various levels, whether financial, market, legal issues. So those are basic issues that we look at in terms of addressing, and we do these as a sector and involving other stakeholders to support us.
Right. Masinde, you've mentioned quite a lot. How can that person who's running an enterprise somewhere deep down, say in Baringo County, the HQ is in Kabarnet.
Yes.
How can they access the services that you have?
How they access that, when you look at the chamber, it is a decentralized organization.
Okay.
We've mentioned that apart from us being at the national office, we have all our representatives within the 47 counties. And within the 47 counties, in each chapter, we have what we call a decentralized kind of structures up to the communities in terms of feeding into what we call the national leadership.
Right.
And within the counties, they also do their very key programs in terms of what we call membership drive, recruitment, sensitization, and even running what we call key trade-related events in terms of supporting them. And apart from that, we also work very well with the county government. So we work closely with the county governments and other business trade associations to support them. And within the chamber, we also have what we call committees. There are committees, all of the committees to support what we call our mandate in terms of interfacing with other stakeholders, whether the media, government, other associations in terms of pushing what works. And then the same committee, whatever they give, they transform the same information down there. So our primary role is to make sure that we have the membership that we can advocate for. Without membership, we cannot work as a chamber. So basically within the counties is an ongoing process. We want to get many people on board in terms of supporting them to make sure that they are either on board in terms of making sure that their businesses work. So within counties, we are there well represented within our 47 chapters.
Okay,
Yes.
and this question, I'll give it to you to answer, but first, David, what can SMEs do to package themselves in a way that when they go to these chambers, whether it's KNCCI, the AmChams, you know, all these people that can connect them to the international markets and even the regional markets, how can they package themselves to ensure that they are fit, they fit the bill?
So definitely, just to mention that it is not that you go to the Chamber of Commerce when you have a challenge. So Chamber of Commerce can be able to grow with you. So it's about the SME understanding that Chamber of Commerce as a way they can help. So trying to find where this Chamber of Commerce, where they are or what they do, or the Chamber of Commerce finding the SME is what needs to be done. So then you don't need to package yourself in any way. So you need to be in business and doing something. So whether the business is doing good or doing bad. So because your business might be doing good, but Chamber of Commerce tells you, with someone who has registered as a supplier of pesticide or veterinary services, just to mention, in a certain sublocation or in a certain ward. So then you, in this end, you've registered as an SME to the Chamber of Commerce, and you do poultry farming, or you graze, you rear cattle or that. So they would connect you with this vet on the other end. So even if your business is good. So that's basically the concept for trying to understand of Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. So is that me, I'm a registered, someone who does transport services in the village. I transport what people grow from their farm to the market. Then here is one person who is keeping goats. So this person who is keeping goats does not know whether there is someone who we can come together as goat farmers or milk producers, and then they will be able to transport our milk to the market at a cheap and most effective and secure way. So the Chamber of Commerce now knows these two different people.
Right.
So then they put them together in a table. So call so and so, he'll transport your item. So if not, even for example, just another example, that with people processing milk in village A, and in village B, there are people who are producing milk and they are throwing it or they are pouring it because they are unable to access the market. So the Chamber of Commerce tells the village A that is processing milk, go to village B. There is enough of milk from this particular farm. So you don't need to go to the Chamber of Commerce because you have a challenge. Chamber of Commerce can help you grow. Chamber of Commerce can give you different market opportunities. So, but the thing is, you must be doing something and ensure you do something that when you go to the Chamber of Commerce, they help you trigger your growth.
Right. Masinde, are there any types of businesses, or do they need to come some type of way, or can they just come as they are? If they need help or if they're thriving, can they come as they are?
No, actually belonging to a Chamber of Commerce is a very big benefit, and not just a benefit, it adds value to your business.
Okay.
Because Chamber of Commerce is a private sector platform that enhances business opportunities and growth. When you belong to Chamber as a person, there are a lot of added value. One, if you are running your enterprise, you realize there's a lot of visibility.
Okay.
Visibility, that means that there's what you call brand enhancement. Your brand can be very, very competitive in terms of what you want, because one will take an opportunity of you being a member of Chamber to support you on what we call either networking opportunities, supporting your brand, and even giving you the report about what we call the brand competitive and how it works. That is one of the values. Two, if you are a member of chamber, one of the benefits again you'll get are also referral opportunities. Referral opportunities, you can be in a position to refer you to other specific opportunities in terms of what works for your business. What is it that can support you in terms of your business, in terms of moving forward? That's an opportunity. And then the other role is networking. You'll be able to understand who else is doing either a similar business or a business of interest that is similar to you in terms of moving forward. And then you'll also be able to get what you call statistics in terms of information. What works for your business today? Like there are very many emerging issues.
Right.
Are we having policy issues, government changes, market trends, new opportunities? We are best to place and give you that support. We even support you in terms of building your institutional capacity, because one of the problems today among enterprises are issues related to either enterprise leadership, issues of continuity, challenges within the capacities to transform enterprises from one level to another. Case like a case of family enterprises. You realize that many family enterprises hardly survive because of many related issues. So when you come to us, apart from just you looking at the family enterprise as the owner, then we'll support you in terms of understanding what is it that you must do as an owner or part of the family business, either in terms of succession, governance, wealth management, or relationships between families in terms of succession, or even opening up your business to other people in terms of making sure there's a continuity. And then the bigger part of chamber is the international exposure.
Okay.
Because you'll also want to understand how is it that I can go into what we call the global value chains to make sure that the part of the business that I'm doing, I can relate to others either in terms of inflow kind of investment or outflow kind of investment that we want to put outside the country. So basically as a chamber, these are one-stop kind of organization that will support you to relate with what makes one. There's business continuity, there's competitiveness, there's productivity, and then ultimate goal of enterprises is to make profit and survive.
Okay.
Yes.
2019, the year is almost over.
Yes.
You work with many SMEs, of course.
Yes.
And you know how the trade patterns have been going. How has 2019 been?
2019 has been not very successful, a bit challenging, but we don't give up because the Kenyan private sector is very resilient. That means they can thrive despite difficulties. One of the challenges we've had today has been the issue of access to finance, because that is one of the constraints that are faced.
Okay.
And then apart from that, there are also issues related to sometimes taxation and regulation. You realize people say that we are not doing taxation in a manner that is sustainable. They say for any country to thrive, taxation must be administered in a fair manner and then in a sustainable manner to make sure that whoever is in business can also continue, and also whoever is getting it can also do it in a manner that works. On the issue of access to finance, of course, there's been the issue of the law and regulation, which was done with a very good intention, but it did not react to the sector. The sector can do it very well in terms of what we call self-regulation, because they've been doing it previously.
Right.
And we believe if the same has now been changed, I'm sure now there'll be what we call the competition that will regulate the sector. And then the other issues that the SMEs have also faced, there have also been issues related to a lot of multiple taxation within counties, which have been able to address. As a chamber, we push a lot of support on policy issues, reforms, and then the other issue that we've also supported the government and the other stakeholders, there are issues to do with the delayed payments. When you talk about delayed payments, people do business with governments, but at the time frame in terms of paying on the issues of supply chain, there's been a lot of delays, but the chamber together with others, we've been able to work very well in terms of pushing this. In fact, the other day you realize there's been a lot of government directives, particularly from the Treasury, where counties have been told that those who've not been able to work within the regulations in terms of payments, they'll not be given the disbursements in time. And you know now that is good, because businesses will want what we call working capital for them to move. If there is no working capital, then these are the constraints that you face today as business, because I do business and then you delay to pay me, then that means you're disrupting the entire value chain in terms of who works where. Because when you talk about the value chain, there are various actors who will want to depend on that. But when you have what you call the working capital, then you realize is now movement of goods, and then you can also do what we call employment. Right. And then the other thing, maybe lastly, is the issue of skill alignment. When you talk about skill alignment, you're looking at the kind of the skill, we call them trade skills, which kind of skills we really need to do and have very well to transform ourselves. Today, there are what you call the emerging sectors that we really need to address, like there's what you call the digital economy. How well are we also looking at the issues at either lower level or high-end level, issues of cyber related issues, issues of digital economy, e-commerce. These are the areas now we really want to address, because for you to be in what you call international business, we must learn how to transact either in terms of e-commerce, in terms of online businesses, and then also looking at the issues of data and privacy. So those are the issues that we have. But as a sector, I've just told you that the Kenyan private sector is very resilient. It can survive despite many constraints, but we want to push forward today as a trading supporting institution to make sure that the environment works for them.
The environment works for them.
Yes.
David, Masinde mentioned the issue of double taxation by counties as well as delayed payments. Of course, they were given that particular ultimatum, and by 1st December, only one of the 15 counties that had been given the ultimatum had actually cleared their bills. So what do you think can be done to ensure that these county governments, the counties, the way they are run, are not stifling the growth of SMEs?
Definitely, it's about the finance management in the county government, and most counties having gotten debts that from the previous county government and even the county council government. So it's all cleanup of the pending bills that needs to be done, and clean up the procurement process to ensure that those people being paid, because of the historical issue that we've had, that the business was executed and there was a real action on those business, and they happened, and people filed certificates of completion that warranted to be paid. So about document cleanup and the government understanding, or the treasury understanding those historical issues about debts that were obtained from previous county government, and then going forward, I'm sure they will be cleaned up, yes, because the process that has started and it must happen. Yes.
Yes, yourself, Masinde, what are your views on that?
We need to do a very well coordinated kind of program where we must pay for the actual bills, and we must also respect time frames in terms of managing our payment procedures. So we must have what we call a very clear physical policy between national and county governments, so that we don't delay payments. If we delay payments, we are affecting the economy. Okay. So we must stick by the regulations and look at our very physical policies in terms of the supply chain, because this is purely supply chain financing. We give you a service, and then we agreed on what we call the timeline. When should I get the money, and then how can I spread to this? So what we are saying, counties must learn to comply with these regulations in terms of making sure that they respect business practices. We pay in time, and make sure that we are paying for the services delivered, not just paying because there are opportunities. We must identify, were they genuine services, were there results out of the work that was done, did they meet standards? Then once all those thresholds and the key requirements have been analyzed, then we have to comply and pay, and make sure that you're paying genuine bills, not just paying because money is available.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are many businesses over maybe the past 5 years or so since devolution began that have gone down because of these pending bills. You know, they keep running their business, and it gets to a point there's nothing really you can do because you waited for over 2 years. What can a business do to ensure that even as much as there are these delayed bills, you can still survive? Because you said that we are very resilient. David, you want to take that?
Yes, so definitely what happens is that if you go into a certain business or certain supply, and because of the historical issue that we've been seeing with the government, that because of delayed payment, one is how you price your service or how you price your contract. You should take the factor of time value of money. So because you're staying with my money for certain duration, by the time I price my supply, then I need to take account on that. Then number two is having different avenues of capital, or different avenues to cushion that, or having a portfolio. So if you're a single supplier to a certain entity, be the government or private sector, then they have delayed your payment, then definitely you have challenges if that's your single support system. So, but if you spread your risk in terms, you're able to supply to different entities, some will pay earlier, that some will get late. So you are able to leverage your going concern. So my advice is to SMEs that let us have different avenues that you do business at once. Once one delays, then the other one can cushion. Then don't overcommit yourself in a certain supply. Don't put all your resources together. You've your title deed that is held there, you've your car logbook that's held there. Then you've done a supply and it has all got into a delay. So definitely your capital is held up, because you cannot use the same securities to be charged by a different financing entity to get money, because they're already charged somewhere else. So let us spread our portfolio in terms of the different avenues that we want to go into business, that once one delays, the others can cushion. Yes.
The others can cushion. Are there any advices that you give to businesses to cushion themselves against this issue of pending bills?
Yes, I think one of the things that we must build and enhance very well are issues related to institutional capacities.
Okay.
When you talk about institutional capacities, then that means when you look at the SME setup, sometimes you find that if there are no functionality kind of arrangements, then you realize you're going into a business that you'll want to thrive, but there is no kind of organized framework that can make you move beyond tomorrow. That means for an SME, we also want to encourage them that they must have functionalities, either in terms of HR, in terms of other key functions, in terms of setup, because you realize that sometimes it's just the owner and the owner himself. So we must understand, for me to thrive and even go at a higher level of engagement, like doing a business with the county government at my level, is it safe I just go as a person, I do business, and then I don't have other relationship, HR issues that must support me? So you must look at an institutional analysis and structure it in a manner that can go into a partnership. And then the other thing is also, when you structure an institution and build it to a capacity that can be supported, it also gives you a way to go in what we call joint ventures and partnerships. When you talk about joint ventures and partnerships, sometimes you can be given an opportunity that you might not manage on your own. Then one of the key roles is to find a partner whom you can agree that this is an opportunity I've got, but the capacity is so limited and opportunities for me to take it as a person, a business limited. Then what is it that I must do? Then for you to go to in that kind of partnership, you must also have built what you call a very kind of stable kind of business support institution, so that I'll sign with you an agreement knowing that I'm doing a business with a formal institution, that in case of anything there's a recourse. So that is one of the key areas that you must do. And then also to support this kind of setup, we must also be very innovative today as a country. We must be able to create products that will support these kind of shocks.
Right.
We must talk the financial institutions to look at the kind of the products that will also allow businesses to continue despite these shocks, so that we also do programs on what we call supply chain management between the buyers and the sellers of the services. In case of this, like you can agree in terms of what you call buyer-backed kind of supply chain financing, where the banks will come up with very good, innovative kind of products that can support those who are supplying, so that I don't wait for the buyers to pay me if they don't have money, but we can work on instructions and trust that I've given you the supply, but based on the assurance and the quality and the certificate of support, then I can instruct the bank that he gave me a supply of 1 million, you can pay and then we'll pay. So that will make sure that we don't wait for 2 years to be paid $1 million bob, but I can be paid maybe after 30 days, 60 days. I'll be in my business, take care of my suppliers, and then the other person will settle with the bank because there are instructions that have been given. And then we also advise the levels of work. There's been a lot of our commitment in terms of work. You do what you cannot do. That's why sometimes you even find the quality of workmanship is too low, or even don't get what value for money. Procurement tender is about value for money. We go for kind of work we don't do. Like you've seen, people have gone to kind of major work, been given, then at the end of the day, when you get queries, you've committed all your resources there, and then you realize whenever you have issues related to service quality issues, the workmanship, and then we say you're not paying you, but you had already committed your resources there. So one of the advices we'll want to give, manage the levels of work you can do, and then make sure that you have the kind of ability to deliver. Don't be committed to any kind of work that you know, given an opportunity, you cannot on your own. Then at the end of the day, these are now the challenges that will now put you in some of the problems with the county government. You commit to work, maybe a 5 million work, you cannot even manage work maybe at $1 million bob, and then the quality of work is too low. Then at the end of the payment, then you find the audit queries, they refuse based on the kind of the value that you do. And then they must also learn to put standards. Quality management issues, it's high time. You look at some other developed world, when you work with standards, the ISOs, the environmental management issues, you find that the standards will support you to be very, very competitive, and even the productivity will go high. So this is an area that you also want SMEs to accept. They have to learn to transform. They have to learn to fit into a very competitive value chain in terms of working. Unless they do this, they'll be limited competitiveness and continuity, because the aspect of survival is continuity.
It is continuity.
And when you talk about continuity, what must you put forward for you to compete and survive? So you must put practice in place, standards, quality management, financial issues must be there, and SMEs must also embrace now to attract talent. into them. It should not just be a family issue.
Right.
It should not just be a one person. We must now
One-person
open up
issue,
to others, attract talent across value chain. If there are financial issues, procurement issues, relationship issues, try to build that kind of skill within your business to move from one level to another.
Right. David, Masinde mentioned the issue of overcommitting. You had also mentioned it a little bit earlier. This overcommitting, is it an issue of integrity? Do they go into it without knowing that they can't handle this much, or what is the issue?
So the issue of commitment to a certain supply, and just literally to mention, we've seen it where people want to do a certain business, not because they can deliver, not because of the quality that they want to deliver out there and make money as a business, but they want it all. You see, they want to do the entire business. So you told that this tender is 10 million. It cannot be broken into 1, 2, 3, 5 million, and each person or different supplier will get different section of the same. They want to do it all together. It's a sum contract. So this one person wants to get the 10 million.
Right.
When you look at their capital ratios, definitely if you do simple accounting, they cannot manage. And that's why I said you need to bring other people on board as professionals to tell you, if you have 1 million and you want to do this, it will not be possible because of A, B, C, and D. So it's about people just want to make a lot of money out of the capital that cannot support the same. So let us understand our basic accountings before we inject money into something. Then let us also have a risk framework. And you don't need to have it documented anywhere, but you just need to understand that if I tie all my assets and then delay comes, something can happen and delay the entire process. So you might be given a construction contract and it rains as it has done. So you expected to complete in 1 month, but you've stole your works for like 2 months. So it has definitely delayed your money. So looking into all that, let us not put all our assets into charge because you want to supply a specific job. So we will tell in accounting concept that only attach 30% of your assets so that you can finance a certain venture. Don't put more than 30%. Leave the 70% just in case the business goes bad. You can look at a certain other avenue, then commit 70%. Then you're able to unlock the 30% that was being tied up. So you can only do business to 30% maybe of the assets that you have. Yes.
Okay. Right. Masinde, 2020 is about to, get here. What is the future of the SMEs sector in Kenya, even despite the turmoil that the economy is going through? What is the future?
Okay, thank you. SMEs have a very bright future in the country because when you look at any economy that has developed, the primary basis were the SMEs. Today, when you look at the Kenyan SMEs, they are the engine of our economy. These are the people who support us in terms of industrial development,
right,
economic output in terms of job creation, and all the positives that we need to get as a country. The future of SMEs in this country is very positive, but it can only be positive when you add value to them. Value to them, that means we must work around pushing on issues that will support them in terms of survival, like the regulations that we have today. We'll want to review the kind of the SME policy we have today because the one that we have is not matching in terms of what can make the SMEs transform themselves. We'll want to look at do we have the right policies both at national, county levels in terms of supporting them, at legal policy framework, in terms of what we call market access, market linkages. What are we doing within the local economy in terms of opening up market development both at county levels, national levels? What are the constraints that we must address to make sure that the SMEs work very well?
I'm not sure I understand.
In terms of skills, what kind of skills do we really need to support and give the SMEs to make sure that the skills they have, they can support them to do their businesses very well, financial skills,
right,
management skills, enterprise leadership. In terms of external business, what are the kind of support do we really need to give the SMEs, either in terms of export-oriented programs, assistance schemes, and not just looking at far. When you talk about export, sometimes people look at far end in terms of doing business. We want to look at what is it that you can do for SMEs, even to do the internal trade within themselves, and even do the regional trade. How will you also support the SMEs to go and do business with their county, their neighboring countries like Rwanda, Uganda, but there is a lot of market opportunity here. And then just lastly, we must also open up advisory centers along various value chains within the counties, be it on agriculture, be it on other issues, and even align ourselves with the emerging opportunities that we are seeing in other countries, particularly the digital economy. When you talk about the digital economy, this is how we are moving, the areas of innovation. How do we support this? How do we make sure there's a lot of what we call key support programs in terms of either policy and even programs? Okay. And then also align opportunities around financing. Financing, when you talk about financing, how do we spread opportunities to make sure that there's affordability, there's access in terms of doing this? So we have a very promising sector. The only issues that we must do, we must work well to make sure that the environment is right, supporting programs are there, partnerships are there, and then even the mentorship in terms of those who succeeded. How do we succeed by making sure that others also succeed? How do you also relate the success of the multinationals that have moved from those levels to others to make sure there's an integration between the SMEs and the multinationals in terms of learning? Because when you have very good multinationals, they work very well with the SMEs, then there's a lot of integration, and apart from integration, there are mutual benefits across board in terms of supply chain and the rest.
Right.
Yes.
David, do you augur with that outlook, the future of SMEs in Kenya?
Yes, the future is big for SMEs as long as we keep to see continuous strategies being set by both by entities like Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and the government itself, and trying to open the market in a bigger fold, and trying to link the local farmer to the international end product manufacturer. Then number two is another concept, basic things that drive SME. So if, for example, today, the way I would log into my phone and I want to go somewhere, then I would see a company that deals with the transport, like maybe Uber, and get it. The same way we should have government entities setting platforms where if I want to sell something, I don't need to call everybody all around, put social media, or I need to sell this. I need to log in, for example, the Chamber of Commerce website and find now these are the members who buy this particular product and these are their prices. So I call them. So we need to have that ease of doing business. Then that is one from the entities. Then from the national government, from the Ministry of Trade, we need to see bills being passed. We see one they did. Then we need to see more bills that create the ease of doing business. We're trying to move in technology at the youth and SME, but we still see the operational part of it. The regulation part of it is still literally traditional. So you cannot tell me how a blogger will pay tax. They operate online. So you cannot tell me to file my returns in more or less the traditional way. Then I'm doing my business online. So we need to see a conglomeration of all those aspects, and will help the SME move. Despite the hard economic times, we've seen the government trying to understand that the concept of interest capping may not have been the best for that particular time. So all that opening of avenues and having the goodwill for these SMEs to grow, definitely we see a better future going forward.
Right.
Yes.
And as we come to a close, what are your closing remarks on this particular topic, Masinde? Just 1 minute.
Thank you very much. What we can say is today as a country we must work very hard and make sure that all our effort and all that we can do support the SME sector, because we've seen countries that have succeeded with very good case studies. They have supported SMEs. We even have very good case studies. We must have what we call consistency in terms of policy. We must have policies that work. Two, we must have a very resilient and competitive SMEs, and us also as a private sector supporting institutions, we want to promote better policies that will make sure that they work both at national county levels. SMEs must also learn to build partnerships. SMEs must also learn to acquire new skills that are required in modern economies. We don't want to now work with the traditional knowledge. We want to move with what we call the modern knowledge that will address issues that are emerging, like the digital economy. I'll emphasize on digital economies that can support us fit into the global value chains in terms of what we want to do. And also build the skills. Like today I've seen the government has put a lot of effort around the technical vocational education, which is very good in terms of opening up our country to make sure that we have valuable skills that will create job readiness, employability, and even people to run and transform themselves in terms of what we want to do. So in conclusion, us as a chamber, we'll want to open and invite members who are SMEs to join our movement at county levels, even at a national level. we work together, we push it, we have a very strong private sector, and we also make sure that what we do create employment opportunities and feed into our national economy in terms of what we do. And then lastly, as a chamber, we'll also take opportunity out of the many MOUs, memorandums of understanding you signed with our counterparts abroad and here, and even the bilaterals, to make sure that we disseminate the information for the benefit of the SMEs, also to understand what is it that we are doing on their behalf, what are the opportunities the government has committed, and how do you also feed into that in terms of making sure that these agreements make sense for them. We'll keep on sharing that, not just here. We'll go to our counties, we'll go to Baringo and the rest of the counties and make sure that the local Kenyans, wherever they are, they'll be able to understand the government committed this. These are the opportunities. If there are any expose programs that we'll want to do, either in terms of taking them to the counties that we have, countries you have agreed, we'll do that. Okay. But as a chamber, we are committed to make sure that, one, we'll support the SMEs, and not just the SMEs. We want to see Kenya thrive as a very strong country in terms of business backup.
Business backup.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. David, what are your closing remarks?
So my closing remark would definitely be that let us push relentlessly as an SME, and let us not bow out when the challenges come. Let us find different and innovative ways to stay relevant, to have a differentiated products, and that's the only way we can remain in the market. And also let us find different avenues that we can venture in until cushion our main objective. Let us not leave our core objective. If your core objective as an SME is to provide a specific service, stick to it. But when you find avenues that you can take advantage of and create different business support system or subsidiaries, let us venture to do it and push relentlessly. Yes. Push relentlessly.
Well, that is the conversation we've been having here on the small and medium enterprises. Of course, keep pushing, keep innovating, and just keep doing what you do. Seek avenues, capital, credit, wherever you can get it, and you will be successful.